Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing a second card project featuring some brand new products from Pretty Pink Posh. These hit the shop last week and I wanted to revisit them because there were some products that I wanted to use that I didn't in last week's project. And I'm going to revisit this Decorative Hearts stamp set. I love that XOXO greeting at the bottom, and I was inspired to kind of create some ombre effects in 3 different ways. So I'm going to walk you through that in today's card project, and I'm going to be using some cardstocks from Concord and Ninth. This is Dragonfruit here. I'm also using Sweet Pea and Ballet Slipper, and we're going to create some ombre looks using these cardstocks and coordinating inks. I'm going to start out by stamping this XOXO sentiment in some Versamark ink onto my colored cardstock. I have prepped the surface using a powder tool, an anti-static powder tool, because I'm going to be doing some heat embossing on these, and I don't want my embossing powder to stick in areas that I don't want it. So I'm going to leave the stamp in place and just switch out my cardstock and then retreat that cardstock with a little bit of powder tool, ink up again, and stamp again. By the way, I did want to mention this Misty stamping tool that I'm using. It is an exclusive to scrapbook.com. It is called the Rose Quartz Misty, and I absolutely love the pale pink color. If you know me at all, I'm a pink girl, and I can't hide it. So once I have those all stamped, I'm going to go ahead and grab my Wow Super Fine Detail White embossing powder, and I'm going to sprinkle that over each of the images, tap off the excess, and then heat set that with my Wow Heat Embossing tool. You want to melt that powder, so you shouldn't see any bit of graininess at all. When you tilt it in the light, it should be shiny, it should be smooth, and that's how you know you've got a good embossed image. So I went ahead and heat embossed all 3 of those, and then I'm going to remove the excess anti-static powder tool with a dry microfiber cloth. So I've allowed the embossing powder to cool, and now I'm just wiping over the surface using that dry microfiber cloth. Now I wanted to add a little bit of ombre goodness to these stamped and heat embossed images. So I'm taking the coordinating inks for each of these cardstocks and I'm blending up a little bit just from the bottom. So I have Ballet Slipper ink. I have just re-inked all of these ink pads, so I'm being very careful when I add this inking to my cardstock that I'm not like coming in hot, you know? And I'm tapping off the excess into the lid so that I can pick up more ink from the lid if I need to. And this is going to be really subtle because these are very fine once they're die cut, but it adds just a little bit of ombre shading to the bottom of these die cut, heat embossed and stamped images here or sentiments. Now I'm kind of using them as an image today more than a sentiment, but you get my drift. So I'm just working my way through these. This is the Dragonfruit. I absolutely love this color from Concord and Ninth. It's so beautiful and the ink is absolutely gorgeous, and we're going to use that again here in just a bit. So once I've added that ink, I want to make sure that I get the excess ink off of the top of the embossing powder. So I'm wiping those images again with a dry microfiber cloth to take off any ink that's sitting on top of the embossing powder. And then I can take the coordinating die that is from the Decorative Hearts die set and just line that up. I'm going to hold it in place with a little bit of the Best Ever craft tape from Spellbinders, and then I'll run that through my Anna Griffin impress machine to die cut. Now, when you're using an Anna Griffin impress machine, you can cut into the magnetic plate or you can cut into the clear cutting plates like I did today. Sometimes, depending on what I'm cutting, I have kind of found that I like more detailed dies to cut into the plate and more simple shapes to cut into that magnetic mat. So just kind of keep that in mind. And you can see all of my beautiful ombre sentiments or images there. Now I've also grabbed this Pierced Hearts cover plate from Pretty Pink Posh. I showed this to you in last week's video, but I didn't get a chance to use it on that card, so I wanted to use it today. I've die cut it from some Concord and Ninth white cardstock, and I'm gonna do a little masking on this. I'm taking the mint tape, this is from scrapbook.com, and I'm using it as a 1-inch mask all around the outside edge of this A2 size card panel. So I'm just lining it up with the edge of the cardstock and pressing it down, and it's going to create the perfect sized rectangle in the center of my card front, and I'm going to do a little ombre ink blending. So this is another way to add that ombre effect or a little bit of shading to your card. I'm starting out with Ballet slipper ink at the top of this rectangle, and then I'm going to go and skip down all the way to the bottom of the rectangle and use the Dragonfruit ink, because this can be super overwhelming if you're not careful. This is one of those colors that will like punch you in the face if you kind of don't go slow with it. So I'm going a little bit slow and I'm blending it up from the bottom into the center of the rectangle. And then I'm going to go back to the Sweet Pea ink, which is kind of my mid-tone ink today, and blend kind of over the center of that rectangle area. And you'll notice that just to clean off the excess ink between colors, I'm using a microfiber cloth and just kind of rubbing over the top of that. Now, I'm just double checking to make sure that this is kind of how I want things to look, and I'm loving it. So this is where we're going to do the peel and reveal, which is where all the magic happens. I'm going to remove that mint tape, which comes off so easy. It does not tear my cardstock. And look at this beautifully masked rectangle in the center of my card project. Now, I think I recently saw my friend Kathy Zilski do this similar technique on the center of the card, and it just seemed right for this card. I really wanted to bring in all of these pinks, and they're kind of purpley pinks or cooler tone pinks when you look at them. And I love the way that center panel turned out. And then of course you have the pierced hearts that are in the center of that ink blending, but kind of bleed out to the edge of the card front as well. Now, in order to add a little bit of dimension to these die cut sentiments, I went ahead and die cut 2 layers of plain white cardstock to stack up behind each of these colors. So the light pink, the medium pink, and the dark pink all have 2 layers of white cardstock stacked behind them, and that's just going to give them a little weight and dimension on the card front. Now, for the third way to add some ombre effects with inking, I'm going to do some ombre stamping. And I'm starting out with one of the solid hearts from the Decorative Hearts stamp set from Pretty Pink Posh. I'm inking it up in my lightest color ink, which is the Ballet slipper, and I'm just stamping that. Now, I am using my Misty stamping tool for this because I want to be able to stamp in the same exact place and not have to try to line that up using an acrylic block. So now I'm coming in with a blending brush and the Dragonfruit ink, and I'm adding just a little bit of ink to the bottom of that stamp using a blending brush. This is going to help me kind of control the amount of ink that I'm placing, and it's also going to keep me from getting like a harsh line of ink by using the blending brush to apply that. Now, I decided to blend up a little bit more on that stamp. So I'm just taking the ink that's already on the brush, inking up the bottom of the stamp again, and then stamping in the very same place. Then I can grab that and use the coordinating die to die cut that out, and I have a beautiful ombre heart for my card front. Now, off camera, I went ahead and used the Valentine themed sentiment strip stamp set from Pretty Pink Posh, and I white heat embossed it onto some Ballet slipper cardstock. And I'm just trimming that down into a nice little sentiment strip using my mini guillotine trimmer from Tim Holtz. And once I have that trimmed down, I'm ready to kind of assemble. Now, I decided to assemble these XOXO greetings at an angle on this center panel here. And I'm just using a little bit of liquid glue and lining those up. I started at the bottom and then I worked to the top, and then I placed the middle one to make sure that everything's spaced nicely. And I'm just holding that up to make sure I have everything where I want it and then pressing that down. Now I'm taking my little ombre stamped heart and I'm adding it to that panel using a double layer of foam adhesive so it sits up over the top of those sentiments that I've already placed down. And I have my sentiment strip as well, which has a couple layers of foam adhesive, but just on the right end of that so that I can overlap it with that ombre heart and kind of nestle it right between that second and third XOXO that's on the front of my card. I'm just going to get that positioned and then press that down. Now, I love how clean and simple this card is, but I really wanted to add a little bit of sparkle. So I grabbed my Pretty Pink Posh Sparkling Clear Confetti. These are the confetti, not the sequins, so they don't have the little hole in the middle. And they are, I would say, a tiny bit flatter than a sequin. And I'm just adhering those using some liquid glue kind of sprinkled on my card front. And then I'll take that entire card front and add it to an A2 size card base. So I've done that kind of on a flat card front, and then I had to add it to my card base. And I just did that with a little tape runner adhesive, and I'm pressing that in place. Now I finished the card off by taking my corner chomper from We Are Memory Keepers. This is an old tool that I have had in my stash for a long time, and I just rounded that upper right-hand corner just to give it, I don't know, a little something different. And I've been kind of inspired to pull out some older tools that I have in my stash as well. And that finishes off my card project today, featuring 3 different ways to add some ombre effects with your cardstocks and inks. I absolutely love this color combination. I tend more towards warmer pinks, so this was a little step outside of that true comfort zone for me, because these are a little bit on the cooler side, a little bit brighter and more in your face, but I cannot tell you how much I love this color combination. It turned out absolutely beautiful, and I think it's perfect for a gal pal for Valentine's Day, or for any day of the year, really, because everybody needs love. Now, as always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. I'll also have a link to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com in the YouTube description. So be sure to check there if you want more information on this project. As always, I want to thank you for stopping by and hanging out with me today. Be sure to visit me on Instagram. We are celebrating this Pretty Pink Posh release with an Instagram hop, and you don't want to miss out on the prizes there. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of my paper crafting and card making video tutorials. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.